Twisted Christian, coming to you with the Dinar RV Global Currency Reset Update. And I'm going to be going over some things that I've discussed in the past and what's really important when it comes to there shall be a break in the Middle Eastern financial system, the dinar. And trying to figure out what that break is, I'm just going to put some information out there and you can judge it for yourself. But before we get into that, I'd like to thank you guys for your support on the Patreon. As you guys already know, I do run a animation and comic project on the Patreon. If you guys like these videos, please give us a support. We appreciate everything that you guys do for those who do support on the Patreon, and we thank you for signing up. All right, now the latest news is we have a new central bank governor, and his name is Mustafa Jaleb as central bank governor. All right, so folks, that is some good news. That is, the pieces are coming together. We have Iraq Prime Minister and others talking about getting rid of the corruption, and they're going after the corruption. But one of the things that I was thinking, because these are just puzzles to the pieces, these are people that need to be in place to make things happen. But one of the things that I have discussed is the Middle East economy basically is falling apart. We see Israel making new agreements with these Middle Eastern countries, and there's a reason for that. And because the Middle East economy is getting ready to change and transform. We know the Saudis basically run OPEC, they run the Middle East. One of my friends brought to my attention about the break in the system. Right, the break in the Middle East that needs to take place. He was saying that maybe that's what it could be, the break in that particular system, which would be OPEC, right? Because OPEC controls everything. OPEC controls how much oil Iraq is allowed to output. And in this video that I did over a year ago, I talked about the Iraq OPEC issue, where Iraq is continually pumping more than what OPEC is telling them to because they need the money. And that's one of the things is that Iraq will never be completely independent unless they leave OPEC. Now let's go back in history. And this article came out in 2018 about Iraq could be the next to break ranks with OPEC. Because we already know what took place with Qatar. Remember, Qatar left OPEC. And guess what? They're thriving. They no longer have to be controlled by outputs of oil. Because what the Iraqi people don't understand, and the Iraqi government, is that if they don't have the money to meet their needs because they cut their oil output, then it doesn't benefit Iraq or its people. And so we know that there are other countries that are talking about it. And there's other articles that discuss why are member countries leaving OPEC? And it's because their economies are not doing well and they need the money, but then they cannot survive. They cannot do a complete budget without being able to output the oil that they need, because oil is cheaper, so they have to put out more oil in order to meet their budget. And so you have countries like Ecuador and Venezuela they're suffering because they cannot put out the oil that they need to meet their budget. So here we have another article that came out several weeks ago. And in this article, it says Kuwait looks to ease dependence on Saudi Arabia oil with new oil development. See, according to this article, Kuwait had already slipped into an economic contraction of 1.1%, fourth of a quarter of 2019 over the same period the previous year, before Saudi Arabia decided to gamble again with the finances of fellow OPEC members and launch another oil price war in March designed to disable the U.S. shale oil sector. With the same destruction of its budget as happened to the last time it trusted Saudi Arabia's decision-making, Kuwait is even more desperate for funds than last time, as is every other OPEC member that followed Saudi's lead. So this came out just a few weeks ago, folks. And so these countries are realizing that OPEC is help contributing to the destruction of their economies These countries need money, and this is what exactly needs to happen. Qatar is thriving. So, and that's one of the things with Iraq. And is that when we will see the break in the financial system, right over there in the Middle East, the dinar? Because once Iraq leaves OPEC, they'll be able to pump out as much as they can. And so that's where we could see most definitely a higher rate. And so we have to ask the Iraqi people, we have to ask the leaders of Iraq, does OPEC run your economy or does Iraq run its economy? It seems like to me with what's going on, OPEC is running the show. OPEC urges full conformity with production cuts, and Saudi Arabia's energy minister warns market gamblers will be hurt like hell. All right, so they're saying, OPEC is saying, hey, all these countries, they need to conform to this. But they're not realizing they're hurting those other economies. They're hurting their governments, those other governments that are part of OPEC, and they're hurting the people. And so it's pretty crazy that they are coming out and saying these things and not even realizing how much they're hurting their member countries. And this is what I want to ask. Okay, there are 13 member countries, right? Now, think back to 2014 when IS took over a third of the country, right? And these are the member countries. Venezuela is going through a crisis, but where was UAE? Where was Nigeria? Where was Libya or Kuwait? Iran, Congo, Angola, Algeria, right? None of those countries helped Iraq. What benefit is it to Iraq if their own member nations don't help protect their land, don't help protect their oil, especially Saudi Arabia? So Saudi Arabia is dictating everything concerning the budgets of all these other suffering countries. But yet, in the time of need, when Iraq needed help the most, where was Saudi Arabia? But yet Saudi Arabia is expecting Iraq to comply with these outputs. Yet Iraq needs the money. Where were they in the time of need? So it doesn't really benefit Iraq to be in OPEC because these countries can offer no type of protection. That's the main reason. The other thing is you have a whole entire organization controlling your budget. If most of your budget is relied upon the oil that's being output, and you can't meet that, there's a big problem. OPEC, and I say this to the people of Iraq and to the leaders of Iraq, Iraq needs to leave OPEC. And this could be the break in the system. Now, folks, there are countries that are sick and tired that are part of OPEC, and they're not getting what they need with OPEC. And Saudi Arabia, they're gambling. They had the oil war, right? It just literally crushed all those members' budgets for that time period. And now that we're seeing a recovery, they're still doing everything to make sure that they're trying to make the prices rise, but at the same time, they're hurting the economies of all the other member nations. So keep in mind, Qatar thrived. They're thriving now. They're not bound by that anymore. So there are other countries that are talking about leaving. So don't forget Ecuador. And one of the reasons why Ecuador left, Ecuador to quit OPEC in 2020 in search of bigger export revenue. Ecuador, one of the smallest members of the organization of the petroleum exporting countries, said on Tuesday it will leave the 14-bloc nation from January 1st due to fiscal problems. This could be it, folks. This could be the break in the system that we are looking for. I'm not saying that's what it is, but OPEC has a big impact on those economies and these other countries. So maybe we're going to start seeing some things change here, folks. So look for if you guys are doing your research, look for any information that deals with these countries, any of these other countries, including Iraq, leaving OPEC. and I think it's going to be a shock. And it actually, since Ecuador left on the first of the year, we could see these other countries begin to do the same thing for maybe the beginning of 2021. Okay, folks, tell me what you think. Put a comment down below in the comment section. I thank you for listening. Don't forget about the Patreon, the Grigori Patreon down below in the description. God bless. And with that being said, Twisted Christian out.